No. Okay. So, like I said, we're here to celebrate the launch, and we're going to go to game director and co-founder of Unknown Worlds, Charlie Cleveland, with a cinematic trailer. joined by...
Eat My Diction.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. We're somehow trying to do a live stream from an actual aquarium, as you can see, which poses some technical difficulties. So let us know if you can hear us in chat.
Blink once for yes, twice for no.
I think we're just going to wait a second to make sure you can hear us before we go. Show is yours, I'm going to tell you to get ready. Okay. We got Adam. We are good. Okay, great. We're good to go. We've fixed the leaks. Oxygen's back. We're good to go. Okay, so my name's Sakriel. I'm joined by Eat My Diction, and we are here in this amazing live stream to present to you and to celebrate the launch of Subnautica. We're doing it from the Monterey Bay Aquarium here, so we're surrounded by water and creatures that's similar to those you see in the game. The whole development team's here. They're partying over there, they're having fun, drinking and eating, but being the Twitch professionals that we are, myself and Diction won't be enjoying any alcohol tonight. Right? Yeah. But we're here to celebrate the launch of the game. It's been around for, 4 years.
Eons. Feels like since I was born, like I've been playing it forever.
Right,
but
yeah.
It's pretty awesome to see it finally out in the world, released, finished.
Ready to go, the full story. So we've got a cinematic trailer to show you guys. So we're going to head over to game director and co-founder of Unknown Worlds, Charlie Cleveland.
Hello. Well, we're live from the Monterey Bay Aquarium in beautiful Monterey, California. I am Charlie, game director of Subnautica and co-founder of Unknown Worlds. And we are here tonight for a reason that I hope you know that you're here. I hope you know why you're here, because you've been waiting a long time. We are launching Subnautica finally after 3 years in early access and 5 years of development. Let's just, wow. I always say this because our last game took 8 to 10 years, depending how you count it. I always say if I knew how long that game would have taken, I'm not sure we would have started it. And we just did it again. This was an 18-month game that turned into 5 years. But I have to say, I am really happy with how it turned out. And after tonight, you guys can evaluate it for yourself, and I hope you're happy too. Because you had a big voice in this game, even more than our previous game. What we launched originally 3 years ago was a seed of an idea, and what you guys told us, and you told us what you liked, and you definitely told us what you didn't like, and we embraced that feedback. And I think what we have today represents not only what we wanted in the game, but what all of you wanted in the game. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say here. We got a lot to talk about, but we have streamers for you tonight. We have, we're going to launch the game. We have the cinematic trailer. We have the launch trailer. The cinematic trailer is kind of like the Hollywood version of Subnautica, how we wished it would look. And then actually, the launch trailer is also how we wished it would look, but it's kind of cut and stuff. But it's wonderful. You guys will like it. We're going to play that all for you later. We have Diction, Eat My Diction here.
Charlie.
Who's helped us so much. We're doing this right now.
We can do it right now.
Are you cutting me off?
Yes. Do it.
I was just getting going. Come on. Okay.
Are you ready?
Are we ready? Jonas, you got the laptop. Where are you? Where's Jonas? So this is actually a non-functional wireless button. But we are launching the game at the same time. Jonas is pressing that button on Steam, which is launching it at the same time. So,
are you ready?
Should we karate chop it? Should we lick it? Should we hit the button? No. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
On a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Double hammer!
attempting a controlled descent.
Sunlight. I've been dreaming of it for months. But it's hard to enjoy alone. The crash seems so long ago now. Father was right. We shouldn't have gone so deep. They do not want us down there. Despite my best efforts, ill health is taking hold of me. Marguerite and Father are already part of this incredible planet. It's reassuring to know that when I go, I'll join them. Until then, well, there's always the view.
Okay, so that was the cinematic trailer. This is the first time that me and Nick have actually seen it as well.
We asked them not to show it to us prior to this, yeah.
Yeah, no spoilerinos.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you take from it?
I thought it was really well produced. I like that they're getting a little bit more into the backstory of the world and, you know, the whole Degassi, like submarines and the bases they made there and the habitats and everything and what they were doing there. I like that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, to begin with, I thought, is this like just a trailer of like what you do in the game? But then as soon as that voice kicked in and I realized, oh, because I've just done that story arc.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm on that story arc in the game at the moment. So to hear the crew of the Degassi talking about, you know, Father said we shouldn't have gone deeper. This is a storyline that you start to explore in the game, and it's really cool. It's a really cool idea for a cinematic to kind of show some of the precursors, the people that have made it onto the planet before you.
Yeah, definitely. But I never go deeper.
No?
I like the shallows. I'm cool. Just, you know,
With the peepers.
Where the sun is still visible. Like I can see 5 feet in front of me. That's usually where I like to chill.
Yeah, the shallows are kind of a double-edged sword because I have a bit of a fear of the ocean. So when I first started playing, and I was like, oh, the shallows, it can't be dangerous here. Jump in the water, have a look in a cave. First thing that comes out is the exploding fish.
Oh, the crash fish. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
they
immediately
suck.
just like, okay, apparently nowhere is safe in this world. But amazing art direction in the trailer. So, and we've got loads of trailers and discussion about the game coming up. Yeah, we're stoked to be here. Such a perfect setting for.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
Can you think of a better setting for a live stream than?
We missed the divers that were cleaning the tank. They were sitting there just waving at us. It was pretty cool.
Some sharks in there as well.
There's a couple tiger sharks. Yeah, they seem pretty tame, but I don't want to go in there.
No reavers yet. So I think we are going to cut over to Scott, who's going to be doing a discussion about the wonderful art that we have in the game Subnautica. So enjoy the video. This is the bit where we're on Reddit because no one's told us that it's cut. What? Oh, we're still on, apparently. No, we're definitely on Reddit now.
I'm okay with that.
Hello, Reddit.
Hello.
Welcome to the aquarium. So, what's interesting about the show is I've only recently started playing the game because I wanted to save up all the storyline for one big live stream, do it over a few live streams, whereas you couldn't help yourself, couldn't resist, and you've been playing...
Despite my incredible fear of the deep ocean. Not even deep ocean, like ponds, rivers.
But not wine, apparently.
Oh, I guess we're going to Scott now?
Oh, we're going to Scott now?
Okay, great.
We're going to head over.
Is that? All right.
All right. So hey, I'm Scott. I'm joined with Corey and Hugh. And we're having some fun here with little audio-visual problems, but making it work.
We're having such fun audio-visual problems that I am now talking into Corey's microphone, and you're probably telling me on stream your pectorals are massive whether or not we have sound, which by the way has saved us. So, everyone, what's happening right now is we are dealing with a cascade of technical issues, so our show is now out of run of show, and we're doing the best we can, and we really appreciate all the help you are giving us in Steam Chat, because all the help you're giving us in Twitch Chat is actually helping us fix the issues. So keep telling us when something's too loud, keep telling us when something's too soft, and we will get to the end of this show, and we will go through our content segments with your help. So please keep it up, and with that, Scott, I believe I interrupted your content segment, didn't I? Rudely.
So rudely.
So rudely. So I'm going to get, you see this? I'm not even supposed to ever be on camera on this stream, ever. I need to get out of here.
You got the pit stains, you got all the, like, look at
I
this,
got the
man.
pit stains. I will let you guys chat. And Corey's like, please get off me.
All right, get out of here, man. Oh, shit. Okay.
Fun times.
Oh, fun time. So, Corey,
Yes.
you are the art director on Subnautica.
I am.
The art in Subnautica is, in my opinion, what makes the game so immersive. Like, you swim around underwater, you see all sorts of creatures, and it's you feel like you're really there. And even though you're on an underwater world, it's so important to just feel immersed in this land. So please, can you tell us a little bit about how you put together this world? Where did these ideas come from? The creatures are so crazy, the environments are so out there. How did this come about?
I mean, it just started with endless amounts of research into, real world plant life and creatures and ocean views, and just kind of going from there. I mean, you just take that and you combine it with a lot of different things. It was particularly challenging with the creatures because when you really dive into that research, you just discover all these amazingly exotic and crazy and weird underwater, like the really deep sea stuff that you see that actually exists on Earth's oceans. It's just so freaking bizarre, and you kind of it's like intimidating because I'm like, how am I gonna top that and make it feel even more alien? Right. So but just it's great inspiration to start with, and you just kind of try a bunch of things. I mean, lots of various ideas come to me, in different ways.
Well, man, that's what I've always noticed with nature.
You know when you've got to get on a stream and interrupt live because the mic's not working?
All right. Did anything come across?
Everything Corey said came across. We thought Corey was going to be the least talkative person on this stream, and yet,
Here we are.
here we are.
See, you should be drawing the pictures then. You could do the art stuff and...
So, until Jessica gives me the okay that Scott's mic is working, I'm going to pass the ME2 between the two of them.
Oh, okay, that's what we're doing. So we're signing off here.
I need this more in my life, Hugh. This needs to be more a part of my life right
I
here.
just get more
Thank
cuddles
you.
out of this
Yeah,
until
you're just gonna
Dylan
follow
gives me the
around.
thumbs up.
Okay. So, Corey, we were talking about the creatures. For anyone that didn't hear, we were talking about the creatures.
We can just do this. Yeah, we can just
Really, like campfire, little cuddle.
Yeah, okay. So,
The creatures in Subnautica, the environments, the world, everything about it, it is just so immersive. And you were saying that you draw inspiration from real life, and that nature provides so much inspiration because it's already so alien looking. And that's what I was commenting on. Is like, if you go and look at the aquarium here, everything you see is just.
And this was one of the places this came for reference.
Right.
So
it was it's just so out there. Like this thing swim behind us here. Like everything's so crazy. Everything's so crazy looking. So.
But it helps ground. Like when you start with that real world research,
Right.
You're not just pulling something out of your butt, because then it just doesn't feel like it really belongs in the world and
Right.
has actual real properties to it.
Right.
So it really helps to have a lot of that strong research and what actually exists to give it that grounding.
Exactly. So one thing I wanted to ask you about is, so the art style is very clean. If you build a base, you'll notice there's almost no scratches on the wall. In a world with all AAA games being, very grimy and very gritty, very dull. What made you decide that this needs, we're going to make a clean game. We're going to make a game that is very pristine looking, very, it's just like this perfect little game of, it's like everything's pristine. Like, how did we get to that?
I mean, there was a few aspects to that. I think in some ways it started a lot from, like, we really wanted a departure from our last game, Natural Selection 2, which was really gritty, industrial, everything was grungy and military-like. Yeah, I mean, which looked great for that game, worked great for that game. We wanted a kind of departure from that style.
Right.
Something lighter, and we wanted to make a game that was more accessible for all audiences. I think that cleaner, brighter, more saturated style was appropriate for that.
Right.
When it came to like all the player tech, like the bases and stuff, I think that also there was some thinking about trying to have a style that could be a little faster to develop. Because we were under a pretty big time crunch. I mean, again, originally it was supposed to be like a 18-month project or something.
Right.
So we wanted to be able to kind of crank out assets faster, and we were thinking if they were sort of simpler and cleaner, and they could be a little faster to create. So I don't know, there's a few things that were kind of going on in our head, but it just kind of felt right in this underwater world. And again, it was largely just really trying to kind of move away. We didn't want the player, he's not a soldier. He's not running around with guns in the game, shooting fish in the face.
Right.
So it was important for us to really kind of make it look more civilian. It's not that industrial, gritty, like sci-fi.
That's a good point. I never really even thought about that. Is like we built a game that is intended not to look like a war game, and that shines through. Like it was always one of our main pillars to have a non-violent interaction with the creatures. Like you get a knife, and that's essentially the most you get in terms of weaponry. So to have a game that has the art style support that core ideal is very important. And I think it came together very well with its very clean look that we had. So I know a lot of the assets that we made, were obviously outsourced. We used assets from all over the place. Can you give us a little bit of insight into like how we went about organizing that? Like how did we ended up with Fox 3D, and we had internal artists, but it just we got it from all over the place. So how did that turn out to be the case?
I mean, we worked with a kind of a core group. There's this outsourcing company, Fox 3D, who we worked really closely with for most of Natural Selection 2.
Yeah.
So we already had a really good established working relationship with them. They were kind of familiar with our process. I knew some of the core guys there that I could really count on to kind of hit the style that we're going for. It was a little bit of, again, of that sort of change up from NS2. With that cleaner. Subnautica is more stylized too, so it kind of pushes that more simple stylized silhouette. So a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning to kind of get those guys brain switched from working on NS2 to this look of Subnautica.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they hit it out of the park. I mean, they did great work for the game, and I'm really happy with how the artwork came together for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stunning game, and like whenever I play it, I'm like, I can't believe how beautiful it looks. Like to me, I'm just like it's gorgeous. I don't know. Like I know I'm biased because I worked on it, but like I don't know.
There's so much that goes into it. I mean, even more on the tech side. I mean, like Max, programmer who did like all the water surface stuff, and a lot of lighting tech, and I mean, all that really just came together to make that world just feel really lush and beautiful, and great water effects.
Right.
And,
so with the creatures, like how much of what your art design was determined what the actions of the creatures did? So like, for example, we have the gastropod, right? Did you start off with an idea of a creature that, launches gas sacs from its butt? Like, it's essentially what it does, right? But like, it's one of the silliest creatures in the game, and like, if you look at it really close, it actually has a gas mask, like, hanging off of its face.
Yeah, it was a little on the nose for that one.
That was a bit heavy-handed, I think. But like, so how much of your art, your concept art, determined what the creature did versus you came up with an idea of what the creature does and then concepted that out?
I mean, I think it was a mix. Charlie initially had a few ideas for creatures, and there's a few that I concepted out for that. But then there's a lot that he was just really good about just kind of being hands off and just like have fun with it. Our game was, I don't know, just the core way it was designed allowed for a lot of freedom in that you could just have as many crazy different creatures as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just sit down and kind of, various ideas would come to me. It's hard to even remember exactly like why I thought of the gasopod, but I had that freedom to just sort of like within the concept art itself, design a creature, and then we would actually just like see if we could, make that mechanic of it actually work in game. And sometimes it could, sometimes it couldn't.
Right.
But, it worked out pretty well.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah,
we're gonna pass it back over to the host desk. So thank you all for joining us.
All right. Thanks.
Hey guys, welcome back to the host desk. So, Diction, everybody's favorite subject, social media. Love it or hate it?
Can't live without it. I actually don't have much of a life outside of Twitter or Instagram.
In fact, yeah, me too, pretty much. So we're going to bounce back to the interview sofa with Hugh, who's got some words to share with us about the trailer and social media.
Out of the way here.
What? I sit down and they abandon me? Am I on TV right now? Alone? You guys? Am I really on? Oh man, they're going to tell me my mic's not working, or that, you guys on the chat will come through and save us if that's not true. I hear that Diction is addicted to social media. Myself, also addicted to social media. I'm going to bet that some of you out there are also addicted to social media, even if it's awful. Speaking of social media, Jonas is showing me out of the corner of my eye what I look like on stream, which is awful! Guys, I'm here to appeal for your help. You've already helped us so much on this live stream. We are an independent development team doing independent development Twitch streams, and we need your help to spread the word about our game. And you can do that in a very easy way. You can do it by exploiting other people's addictions to social media. On Facebook.com/Subnautica, Twitter.com/Subnautica, there's a cinematic trailer on show. It's also available on YouTube.com/Subnautica. Please take a look at it. And you know what? If you think it's junk, you tell us. But maybe you think it's okay. And if you think it's okay, it would really help us if you got in there, had a like, had a share, and told the world about it. So hit those addictive social media buttons. I am all out of voice, so I'm going to go straight back to the hosting desk right now with Diction and Chris to take over because they are professionals.
Hey guys, so coming up we have a new gameplay trailer. So we've already had the cinematic trailer that's outlined some of the backstory and giving you an idea about the concepts behind Subnautica, but we've now got a gameplay trailer, and Diction's played this game a lot more than me. So what would you say your favorite gameplay changes are to the game that have been coming out recently?
I mean, over the time that I've been playing, which is since like early alpha, the components needed to create new items in the fabricator started to make more and more sense. In the early days, I remember like you could only cook with salt, which is like, okay, I understand you can cure food with salt, but cooking it is a different thing. And now it's like, oh, you can cook it and cure it. And just certain elements and minerals didn't really make a whole lot of sense combined with others to create like a sea moth or something else, and now it makes way more sense.
Yeah, the depth of the puns.
Nice.
The punsmanship.
First one.
The depth of the features in the game with the base building, the survival elements, they really shine. And I think this gameplay trailer is just going to cut to the core of what you're going to experience in the game.
This PDA has rebooted with one directive: to keep you alive. Scans indicate this location supports a diverse and healthy ecosystem. Exploration is conducted at your own risk. Utilizing alien resources is a proven survival strategy. Explore, study, catalog new species, secure food and energy, and gather data on unusual phenomena.
Shouldn't have gone so deep.
All right, and we're back here, and we're joined with Charlie and Scott McDonald.
I don't have a last name.
Charlie Cleveland.
Thank you.
It was like some city, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio.
Yeah.
Charlie, Ohio.
Yeah.
I want to give out a really quick shout out to Real Time UK, who did that amazing cinematic trailer with a very little amount of time to do it, but they did an incredible job.
What, they have like 1 month?
We're like 2 months and then lots of back and forth. So
I think they had more people on that trailer than we had on our entire dev team.
Probably,
It was insane. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they did an absolutely amazing
Really
job. I hope you all
beautiful.
liked it.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty awesome. So
Yeah, me too.
You did too. Yeah. Okay, so
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the Subnautica community.
Okay.
So
it's a big topic. Good, because I got cut off during my intro speech, and this is what I wanted to
I
talk
know,
about.
and now we don't have a beautiful
sorry.
Australian to sit here and help me out. I know. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Subnautica community, it was a pivotal part of this game. Without it, we would not have the game we have. I would argue we might not even have a game at all.
Yeah.
So
we'd have a bad game, basically.
we'd have a bad game,
Yeah.
right? Our ability to go in early access and iterate on different ideas, pass it through the community, it was absolutely vital to this game's success.
Yeah.
So just give us a little rundown, like how that was, done.
I mean, so when we launched in early access on, December 2014?
Yeah.
Something like that,
14?
earliest access.
Earliest access. No, actually, we did that even before. That was a little before.
that's right,
On
yeah.
the Humble Bundle, which was amazing. But we didn't get tons of feedback then. But when we launched on Steam Early Access, the company was running on fumes at that point. Honestly, I mean, we had to get a bridge loan to last long enough to start to get some revenue, because it's like a 45-day wait from Steam. So it's like, okay, this is going to be touch and go.
Yeah.
So we launched the game. We'd spent every dollar on making the game good. And I remember Corey and I were arguing so much about how can we ship this without a Cyclops?
Everyone was like,
is it ready?
Yeah, what can we ship?
Well, but it's so hard to know. When do you put it in? When you put it in early access, when you put it into people's hands, there's so many different concessions to consider.
I mean, the startup methodology that I like the most is what I've heard is that if you're not embarrassed by your first release, then you release too late. And we were a little embarrassed by our first release, and I'm really glad we released that early because I remember after we had launched, I basically had no idea what to work on for 2 months, which is, me, that's really weird, right?
Yeah.
Because the game was totally aimless. We had these ideas. We had some really cool ideas.
It was a little bit rudderless,
It was. It was is this going to be about, what's the goal of the game?
Yeah.
That was really
Is
it.
it going to be procedural? Is it going to have story? What is it going to be?
We knew we didn't want to make it, gun-focused or violent-focused. But if you look at something like Binding of Isaac, that's more of a typical kind of kill something, get a reward. Right. That's the loop.
Right.
Adventure, kill something, get a reward, get better stuff, kill more stuff. It gets harder.
So you had to put more of a focus on exploration, which.
Or at the time, we didn't know that. At
the
time, we thought, well, maybe. At least in my mind, I'm thinking maybe we should you're terraforming the planet. You want to make it. You need to colonize the planet, so maybe you have to get a certain amount of food.
Yeah.
And then once you have enough food, then the planet is ready. Then the the rest of your people can then come land and like live on the planet. Trying to look at things that aren't combat based.
And we had all these ideas.
Yeah.
But then the community came in and really kind of helped shape.
So two things, right? I think two things happened. One, we saw we weren't making enough money to be profitable. I mean, it was like just like on the level, barely. We were just barely coasting. This is, I think, right before you joined. Before you.
Yeah.
And the second thing was we did see people's reactions to certain aspects of the game.
Yeah.
And when you see that now we have Twitch and YouTube, and when you see a visceral reaction to something in game, it's really hard to ignore that.
Yeah.
So immediately, I remember I was like on vacation in Mexico when we did this. And I remember I'm not vacationing. I'm just going to work the entire week and convince everyone on the team that we have to cut like probably about 75% of what we had planned, which is all my dreams. And we have to focus on challenge. And we hadn't figured out the scary creatures yet. But we did realize we need to cut all the science-y, vague crap, the terraforming. Though the terraformer was still in there, but the idea
and that was hard to do.
Habitable.
That was so hard to do because like we were in love with those ideas.
And we had to
the
cut
community
co-op.
liked them too.
Cut co-op at that time.
Well, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
I don't even want to say the C word, but here we are. We're open, so we had to cut co-op. We cut story at that time. We cut all the habitation stuff, like getting food and stuff.
Yeah.
And we just focused on making it a little more dangerous, having a little more difficulty to getting deep. And that's when we started patching faster.
Yeah.
Because we knew what we were doing. And it was about March or April is when Diction started covering us.
Right.
And it was like another month, and then Jack started covering us. And
then that's when it just snowballed out of control. Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was weird. It's like both the community and the focus of the game together are what caused it.
Right.
But we didn't know what to focus on without the community.
Right. So, okay, really quick, I just want to talk to you about all of our QA testing was done through outsourced. Through outsourced.
Yeah.
So just talk to us about that really, really fast.
I'd love to know how this works, because I have like no idea. All I just know is stuff gets tested. So.
Yeah. So we have a brilliant group of volunteer playtesters who've come in. We've kept it relatively small compared to NS2. With NS2, we had to take on quite a lot of people because it was a multiplayer game. But having a single player game, you can focus with just a few people on specific problems. But those people really helped make the game. So I want to say thank you to the playtest group of Subnautica.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's only like 20 people max.
Yeah.
And they did a superb
And they're so
job.
passionate about it too. Like they couldn't wait to help and find bugs. It was just like
And they're working late.
They're working late. Yeah. It
all
was
messed
crazy.
up.
I couldn't believe it. But an overall, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Thank you very much for joining us. I know. We have to keep going. We have a stream.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Okay.
We're going to pass it back to the hostess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Why, hello there. Welcome back to the host desk. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. I'm Diction.
Hello.
I've got Brian here, and what exactly is it that you do on Subnautica?
Hi, I'm the technical artist at Unknown Worlds, and basically I work on anything that's animated. I help get it working in Unity, work closely with the animation team, and I'm kind of like the middleman between them and the programmers. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I'm always working with a lot of the creatures, a lot of the tools, and even the vehicles. Pretty much everything that is animated, I've had to deal with.
So you're pretty much responsible for my nightmares then. Does she work on the Reaper? Be real with me.
It is a group effort, obviously.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Throwing the blame. I see what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how much did you have? How much like work did you put into the creatures themselves, especially the bigger ones that have a lot more animated parts?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the bigger ones always have their own problems. You got to make sure that they have enough room to swim around, and that they some of them have their own unique cinematics where they'll take you. And I really like it when they'll take your the sea moth, like the Reaper will come and steal your sea moth.
I don't
sometimes.
like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it's great.
No.
Yeah, we do all that kind of stuff. that we obviously, with all the big creatures, we decided that let's add tentacles, because tentacles are awesome, but they're also like one of the most complicated things to have to work with when you're animating. There's so many bones.
I imagine, yeah, that's like a lot of parts you got to move.
Yeah, and then especially, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, there's creatures that have lots of tentacles. And
Okay, we're going back over to the couch for more interviews.
All right, so hey, we are joined here with Brian, and he is a naturalist here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And thanks for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like, this is super awesome that you guys are hosting it here. And working at an aquarium with a bunch of scientists, you will get lots of nerds and gamers, so we are super excited to have you guys here as well.
That's right, so you actually play video games yourself, right?
Yes, huge gamer, so I've been following Subnautica for a very long time. Natural Selection was my LAN party game back in the day in high school.
Okay.
I do lots of Overwatch now.
I love that you played Natural Selection. That's it's like full circle now that we're back to Subnautica. That's great.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so I mean, the Monterey Bay Aquarium is one of the coolest aquariums on the planet. Like, I've been to quite a few. I love the ocean. That's why I work on this project. Like, this aquarium is great. So can you just tell us a little bit about it? Like, tell us what the purpose of it is, what the mission is, just everything you can about it.
Definitely, just in general, because I worked at a couple different facilities, definitely visited a lot of aquariums. This is probably one of my favorite that I've ever been a part of here. Really just because how we break up all the different exhibits and collections. Like, you'll see all the different animals that be living together out in the wild in those exhibits together, like in the kelp forest right behind me. These are the same fish that we live in right off the deck.
Right.
And just being here at the aquarium, it's awesome to see people coming in who sometimes have never seen the ocean before.
Right.
And just introducing them to all the weird stuff that's out there. And at the end of the day, hopefully they care a little bit more about it and are inspired to actually bring that home with them for when they're looking at how to protect the environment, how to be better about conservation issues.
Right. So can you take us through some of those conservation issues? Like, what are some of the things that the aquarium is working towards trying to help with the environment and the oceans? I mean, I know there's so many things to do.
Many things. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the big things, just like simple, that we'll tell people that they can help with is just even this plastic pollution. Like, we'll do big pushers of, like, say no to straws at restaurants. Like, just trying to cut down on a lot of those single-use plastics that you use it, throw it away afterwards, and try to do as many reusable things as possible. Because right now we're seeing just all over the world, people are being better about how can we do efforts to take trash out of the ocean and at the same time stop putting stuff into it.
Right.
And then hopefully it's a long process, but as enough people get on board, we're hoping to see those positive results in the future.
Yeah, that's great. So what kind of efforts is the Monterey Bay Aquarium taking to help out with educating people? Like, what is being done to actually show people these things? Like, are the exhibits, like, do they offer solutions? Like, how do you get the word out?
Yeah, and the word for people that are here at the aquarium really is talking to a lot of the staff that are here, kind of get them involved, get them interested in what's going on, like, hey, come check out this cute penguin. They get attached to the animal that way, and then from there you can start introducing those conversations like, hey, you think this is really cool, here's some stuff that's going out in the wild, and here's some easy things you can do to kind of like help out. Right.
So, admittedly, I love sushi. So, is there just
don't worry.
right? I was like, oh man, is there just some everyday things, like besides plastic straws, you were saying, like stuff like that, but is there just, in terms of meat consumption or anything like that, something that we can do to just on a daily basis just help out a little tiny bit?
Definitely. So one of the big kind of programs that comes out of the aquarium even is the Seafood Watch program, if you've heard about that before. And really that takes all of our scientists and expertise and kind of doing all the research for what are things that you can eat and not feel guilty about it because they're doing okay out in the wild, and also identifying populations that maybe are being overfished, taken out of the ocean at a much higher rate than what they can reproduce. You want to give those populations a break, kind of avoid those. Here's some seafood items that you can enjoy without hurting the ocean.
Right.
So that's all part of the Seafood Watch program. So there's pocket guides you can pick up for that. There's a free app you can download. And we try to make it as easy as possible for getting that information to people that come in.
Yeah, because I know for me, like, I feel very overwhelmed by there's so many things I can do to help, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I'm so powerless. You know what I mean? And it's like if I could just do little tiny things here and there, that's like I know I'm doing something to move the conservation effort forward. That would just be
definitely. It's
so
like easy first steps they can do like right away is like just say no to straws at restaurants, maybe buy a reusable bottle, and then definitely when you're eating seafood just at a restaurant, even if you don't have that guide, many providers are actually getting much better at saying like, hey, do you guys sell sustainable seafood? And like they know what that means. Like, yes, we do. Here are your sustainable choices.
Exactly.
And it's awesome that you're seeing more and more of those food providers get on board with that program.
So are those little plastic six-pack things that are around bottles, do they still like pose a problem to the industry?
Yeah, so that's definitely like a
I remember that
big
being a
thing
problem like 30 years ago. Like
hard to get companies to give up that because it's so cheap and easy to do, but you are seeing lots of people actually with the six-packs, that's such a handy thing to have. Like use ones that biodegrade in the ocean or in the earth, and like animals can actually eat it and it's not harmful to them.
Right.
I was even just in Hawaii a few months ago, and like the Kona company out there, like they actually have like biodegradable six-pack cans, and like that is awesome.
Yeah.
That people are starting to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I think if more companies just kind of adapt minor changes to what they're doing, if everyone did that, like we could really move forward on helping, because it's everyone's problem.
Exactly.
Like everyone that works at like a company, you know, they have kids, they have families. Like it's not just like there's these fat cats sitting up trying to make money. You know, it's they have these incentives as well to just help, because if this stuff goes away, this is the very base level of the entire food chain. Like everything else perpetuates up from it, and so it's so essential that the oceans be preserved.
And really just getting that initial buy-in to start getting people to care.
Exactly.
And like California residents, like the big thing that happened even just a little while ago is the big plastic bag ban. Like we were kind of big voices of that and just getting people to care about the ocean. So when that comes up on a ballot, like, you know, that is a good thing. Like, no, I don't need a plastic bag at grocery stores and stuff like that. Like, I can bring my own, and then that's been helping out a bunch.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, okay, so we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the Monterey Bay Aquarium or any of the conservation efforts that are being done? Just anything at all to all of our viewers at home?
Yeah, definitely come visit if you're in California or near Monterey. We'd love to have you, tell you more about some of the cool stuff that's happening out in the ocean. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, no straws.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Brian. We're going to send it back over to the host desk. Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the host desk. Enjoying the show, Diction?
I'm enjoying being able to sit down and not drink wine.
That's one of your pastimes, isn't it?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm a streamer, that's all we do.
I can't really talk, I suppose.
I'll get a standing desk one of these days, and then I'll show them all.
Pinky promise? You saw it here. So we're about halfway through the show. So far we've seen awesome interviews, the cinematic trailer, the gameplay trailer. We've got some awesome developer diaries coming up soon as well. But one thing we wanted to show you is a little clip that many of you may have seen. May have.
Yeah, baby.
Where, being my usual self, I'm giving it all this. Oh, I'm a better game designer. Well, they should do this feature. And the developers are already one step ahead of me, and I run headfirst into that feature immediately. Roll VT.
Out into the water, and it checks like, have we shown this guy a spectacle in the last 10 hours? No. Okay, play a spectacle. And like, if you could just see like a massive shark fin, and I mean massive, like not like, oh god, a great white, I mean like the size of a battleship shark. Just see its fin just skim through the water in the distance and go back down again. So you're like, what the fuck? Like, even if you never see it again, you never get to interact with it, you never get close enough to scan it, it's...
What?
What?
What was that? What the fuck just happened? Are the devs watching or something and they've just like pressed the button?
This PDA has rebooted with one directive: to keep you alive. Scans indicate this location supports a diverse and healthy ecosystem. Exploration is conducted at your own risk. Utilizing alien resources is a proven survival strategy. Explore, study, catalog new species, secure food and energy, and gather data on unusual phenomena.
Shouldn't have gone so deep.
We have more
the real stars here.
The real stars of the show. Never mind 5 years of top-tier development. You're here for the streamer hosts.
For sexy and sexier.
Not going to argue.
No.
So we have more developer diaries to show as well. But before we do that, I'm sure there's lots of people watching the show that are wondering, like they're about to jump into the water for the first time and pick up the game, on launch day. What tips would you have for someone before they for their first journey, their first day?
Bladder fish.
So my name is Louis Karim. I am a 3D animator working on Subnautica. The stuff that I hope people notice are, there's not a lot of scripted moments in Subnautica. I think one thing would be, for example, the Reaper Leviathan attacking the player and attacking the sea moth, swallowing the player whole, or grabbing the sea moth and rocking it left and right. That was one of the moments that really stay with me is when I saw some YouTubers actually get really scared and really jump from being attacked by, they'd be forced out of their sea moth, and then they can't outrun the Reaper, and then the Reaper eats them, and then it leaves them in shock, and they have that kind of, like, if they're scared, you really see that they're scared. So that was a really nice thing, and I hope more people get eaten by a Reaper Leviathan. That's really nice. It brings a smile to my... it makes me smile whenever people get eaten by a Reaper Leviathan. I don't know. Another one is I hope that a lot of people find the cute fish cute. I think I was doing the cuttlefish around the time when my daughter was a newborn, so I had a lot of reference, which is why it's kind of dear to me, that part of the animation. What I love about Subnautica is that it's a game where the main character is not you. The main character is the world. Which is why we had this discussion once about like promotional art and stuff like that, and that was the thing that kept coming to my mind, is that this is a game where you're just someone who just happens to be there. It's a game that exists with or without you. and I think that's the best part of it. So I love how our game, it's not creepy. It is a game that has a world in it, and some parts of this world are beautiful and happy looking and colorful, and some parts of it are creepy and just very scary, and I love that about it. It doesn't try to be any one thing. It's a game that just is. It's a world that just is, and you're just there with all the elements of the world there for you to experience, and I love that.
Welcome back to the Intrepid Interview Couch. We're joined today now by Andrew.
Hi.
And Tom.
Hi.
Andrew is the level designer, A-level designer on Subnautica, and Tom is our incredible writer who wrote all the wonderful PDA lines and
Incredible
lines.
is in my job title.
It's true. Incredible writer. It says it right on the header. So talk to us about designing the world of Subnautica. You have so much inspiration to draw from. You came up with such a rich world you crafted. We started off with something that had no story and added an entire story that had a backstory, and it had just everything. So just take us through how this all happened.
I think the most important thing is to start with a world that feels believable and makes sense. Like in a lot of games, you're going to start with a world that you're building for gameplay reasons. And that's really not the way we went about it. We went about it by making a world that felt real and lush and beautiful. And then we figured out how to make gameplay work in that world.
Right.
And following on from that, when we started building the story, we did the same thing. We built story into that world that we'd already created. And just sort of layered things on top of a world that was already, as real as we could make it from the very beginning.
Right, from my side, this is such a common thing in the job that I do. It's like someone builds a game, and it's a wonderful game, and they've been working on it for years, and then someone on the team goes, hey, should we add a story to this? And then someone calls me up.
So we just tack it on at the very end, and then you have to just shoehorn a story into the whole thing.
There's a degree of shoehorning and a degree of looking at the game that you're working with, working out what is the gameplay actually about, what is the feeling that players are experiencing, and then building a story that reflects that experience and builds up that experience rather than takes away from it. You see a lot of games where they it's a shooting game and then they try and tell an emotional story on the side.
But it's already too late, right? Yeah. I think we brought you on just early enough that we were able to sort of feed back from what you were doing and build that back into the world, and then you'd build on that, and we sort of had a bit of a cycle going where we...
Yeah, well, there was a hell of a lot of interaction between art, LD, and story to get together those big set pieces of the alien structures and the other bits. It was a really collaborative effort.
Yeah, and I think that's necessary for success in world building. The level designers, the world builders need to talk to the story writers, the narrative designers, in order to get all of the pieces put together. You can't build a world and then have someone come along and tell a story in it.
Right.
You need to come back and forth.
Right.
And we were able to do that.
And there was so much of the world that you took story elements and added them in. In fact, I would say that level design in a large extent is telling stories.
Absolutely.
Every little point of interest that you go and see, it's telling a story of what was there before it.
Yeah, and any element you place in a world, if you're doing your job properly, you're thinking about why have you put it there? What reason does it have to be there?
Right.
There is a story behind its existence.
Right.
You're not randomly putting things. I mean, even if the story is as simple as erosion means that the rock is this shape, right? You still have to make those choices. You still have to think about it in those terms. Yeah.
That's so true. It's something that really went two ways, in that a lot of the time I spent writing around stuff that was already in the level design, but I was fortunate. It was things like I was talking to someone yesterday, I think it was Sakrio, about the giant floaters on the island, right? That came from, I think, concept art that Corey did, and it went through level design and so forth. And because they were already there, because there was already some kind of a story implicit in the visuals, it was easy for me to look at that and draw out what is the life cycle of this creature.
So was there anything that you found that there wasn't a pre-existing story to tell, that you had to pull something out of thin air and really construct this rich world out of literally nothing?
Yeah, the core story.
You're like literally everything.
I really see the story in the game as a game of two halves. Half of it is the scanning creatures and reading about the technology and these kind of lore-based things that build out and flesh out the world. And then the other half of it is that central narrative thread, which is guiding you through those 3 or 4 key locations in the game that tell you about the things that are challenging you to get off the planet and so forth.
Well, I think the good thing about that is that, you know, we got Tom in early enough that he was able to build that thread, and then we could take what he'd built and make changes to the world that then he could respond to again. So like, we got enough of a story early enough on that when we went to our polished pass, where we went back through the world and tried to make it as beautiful as we possibly could, or as meaningful, really, is the best word, as we possibly could. We had an opportunity to go, okay, we've got all these elements. How do we fit that into the story that we've just been given? You know, so that's where we got the idea for those alien caches that we placed around the world and things like that.
Spoilers, by the way, some spoilers.
Well, yes, you know, a lot of people know where they are.
Has anyone even watching this
the entire game?
Well, you know, we're not telling them where they are, so.
Okay, so but that's a really important point that you made, that you iterated back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he came up with something that you then had to implement, and then you populated that with, you know, prefabs that then had to go be scanned and have a whole story that was along with it. So, Tom, I'm curious, was it intimidating to know that you had to write a scanner entry for literally every single object in the entire game?
There's a little like hole in my heart, especially for those emails from Corey, which say, Tom, we've decided to add an extra alien base to the game. Can you just turn out some story for this, please? It's not quite the right way to do a story to like add for the sake of it. However, I think what's so wonderful about the game is there's always that room to push something else into it and to flesh it out, because what you see is always just the tip of the iceberg of what we've worked out in the background of what's really going on.
Yeah, and I think spending that time is really worthwhile. It means that the player might not necessarily know, but when the world designer has that payload of information that they place into the world, it's just that little extra little touch that, you know, it's kind of almost subliminal. The player won't pick up on exactly why we've done it that way, but we know why we did it that way, and it's different from not knowing why we did it that way. You know what I mean? So it's that much more meaningful.
Exactly.
It's layers of meaning, really, and that's what the iteration is about between Tom as a writer and us as world designers. If we keep going back and forth, we just layer the meaning up, and then there's that much
and
more.
by the end, you have
place
this really rich layer cake. Just it feels like it's actually been lived in. Because it actually kind of has. Between all the iteration of back and forth, we truly have been making this world. In steps.
Yeah, we spent the time working it out, and then there's so much more for the players to explore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's great.
This is my favorite theory of what art is. The theory runs that what art is it's something which explains to people something important, or shows people something important, in a way that could not be done in words as quickly. So if I look at a painting, I can get in a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't understand consciously just by looking at that painting, and it comes to it. And I think and hope that's what we're doing in the game. There's no sort of big, meaningful sort of prosaic text. There's just bits and pieces here that you draw from the level design, the ecosystem, and the end. I hope it comes together.
You piece together a larger whole, and like I absolutely get that feeling when I'm playing the game. Is like you're like, there's more to this than I'm being told, and like I love that. It's not heavy-handed. It doesn't just spell it out for you. It just implies something, and it's up to you as the player to infer what that meaning was. And I absolutely love that about the world that y'all have created.
I mean, you could describe to someone the feeling of discovering a new part of the world. But it's not the same as actually just doing it yourself. There's an extra little payload in there that you just have to experience for yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the same for any game, really, but you get that by putting the effort in. You know, and figuring out things in advance, really, not just doing them on the hoof. And when Charlie said, you know, way back when, said, should we hire a writer on this? I was like, absolutely, we should. It's going to be so much richer what we do, and it's paid off.
And I know for me, I was not feeling like I really wanted a story in the game. I was like, I just want to explore and pick stuff up. And now that I see what the story in there and what it's become, I would never even go back. You did an amazing, incredible job with that. All right, well, thanks for joining us, guys. I think we're out of time.
Thank you.
We're going to throw it back over to the host desk. Thank you very much.
As I was saying about the bladderfish, it's very useful for creating water and flotation devices that can pull you out of a sticky situation if you're down too deep and running out of oxygen.
That is sound advice.
What about you? What's the first thing that you did when you first got into Subnautica?
Literally, I jumped in the water, got scared of the sound I heard, and jumped straight back out, and then mused about going back in about 5 minutes later. I was pretty scared the whole way through.
Okay, even in the shallows where it's nice and light and
yeah, it's
barely
light.
anything in
It's
it.
light, but that means the little bombfish can chase you around, and that I learned.
They're
That
really bad at turning, though. That's the thing. If you turn around a corner, they'll just careen into it and explode.
not much turning in a tunnel though. That's where my first one was. I went down like a long tunnel, got halfway down, and I just tried to run away, and it didn't work. But I don't know about you, but I think it's. I'd love a dev diary you're about now.
A dev diary, you say?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do another dev diary.
So what I did on Subnautica is all the sound and the music. The process to make the creature sounds in Subnautica, the way it usually works is I will get some concept art from Corey. I will then look at this and I will kind of try to imagine what this creature should sound like. And then using recordings of like animals, sometimes human voices, and sometimes even things you wouldn't expect would be a creature sound. So, for example, the reefback. Like a lot of people really like the reefback sound, and it was one of the easiest ones to make. It's basically, it's a recording of a guy going like, ah! And I slowed it down, and now it sounds like the reefback. Like that's literally all it is. If you get that sound and you speed it up, you will hear that guy. Some of the challenges for working on a game that's set underwater in terms of sound is how do we make everything sound like it's actually underwater? We can record things underwater. I have a underwater microphone, but that doesn't quite do it. Doesn't quite sound like it's actually underwater. For example, the sound of the scanner. This took so many times to get right. I have no idea why. It has to be such a subtle sound, and you hear it so often that it needs to be good, but it's actually not the kind of sound you would think is difficult, but it actually is very difficult. A lot of the sounds in Subnautica do actually come about by accident. So like I'll be aiming for a particular sound, I'll try to make that, but I mess it up, right? And then something else comes out of that, and then that becomes the basis for like a different creature or something like this. So a lot of sound design is actually like this kind of like exploration, and you make a lot of mistakes, but sometimes they're like happy accidents. So yeah, because when it started out, I thought it was going to be a much more kind of relaxing experience. But as we started making it, it turned out that we had a lot of kind of creepy areas in the game. So this required a lot of like creepy music, and there's lots of creatures, and it actually like it actually sort of turned into a horror game, which is, I like that. I think that's great.
Welcome back to the interview couch. We have, it's so professional, the interview couch.
Yeah.
We're joined by a couple of extremely talented programmers. Our lead programmer, Jonas, and our lead technical programmer, Max. And wow, we've put together a hell of a game. We have pushed Unity past anything it was ever intended to do. We have taken, in my opinion, what was this little tiny box that is Unity, and just completely expanded it to do far more than it was ever intended to do, with world streaming, with just every technical marvel that Max has created with the beautiful water in the game. Can you just run us through some of the challenges that was faced in creating this massive game that started off so small and turned out so big?
Yeah, there were a couple of things. Let me jump in with that. But before that, there were a couple of questions on the Twitch stream. People who play experimental should switch back from experimental to normal mode to get the update. The update is really small because all we did was unlock the rocket. So you can now build it. So the game is now fully released. And yeah, those were the 3 things that came up, I think. So
out of the way, right?
let's just get that out of the way.
It was very like presidential debate of you.
Yeah.
You asked one question and then you answered a completely different one.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Are you sure you're not a politician?
Are you asking the questions or am I asking it? So, streaming, Unity and streaming, yeah. So, like you said, Unity is made for, is a very specific engine for targeting a very specific market. And open world games is not the market. So we had to build all of that on top of the existing engines. And I would say that Unity is good at building editor tools. So we got a real good start there. But when it comes to just the presentation and streaming the entire thing in that you actually see in the game, that is a lot of work, and we didn't really make the easy choices. We went a couple of unconventional.
We clicked the hardcore button before we started the game.
Right. We made a few decisions that kind of made it hard for us in the long run. Yeah. So, like for example, when you normal open world games often have like a height map, right? And height maps are kind of easy to make sure that the part around you is high detail and the part further away is low detail, and so your computer can handle it. Right. But Subnautica is real 3D, and we have like caves everywhere and arches, and so height map was not an option.
Right.
We're fully voxel based, and that comes with a set of that's an order of magnitude harder to actually stream in real time than a height map, I would say. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one of the biggest challenges, at least from my perspective on the game, was kind of, you alluded to it, it's like we started from one thing and it grew over time, and as it grew and changed based on the response we got from the audience, and as our changing concepts of what the game were evolved, was that the technical requirements also changed. So, the game started out as an underwater game, and we ended up with, mountains in the game, and above ground things, and big, facilities that were just like not what we were really building the systems for initially. So just kind of constantly keeping up with the creative direction of the game was definitely a constant challenge.
Yeah, well, I know even with that, like we started off just having terrain, and then we started adding buildings, and we added bases, and then we had the alien bases, and the bases are comprised of millions of little prefabs that all have to work with the already existing systems we had in the game, and this is just massive headaches for everyone involved.
Yeah, one super simple example is figuring out whether you are actually swimming. Right? When we started,
oh my God, that's so true.
When we started, it was super simple, right?
Yeah.
When you were zero is the water surface.
Yeah.
When you're below it, you're swimming.
Yes.
And when you're above it, you're in the air, so you're falling.
Right.
And then at some point we added these islands, so when you're above it, maybe you were walking and not falling.
Right.
And then at some point we added bases, so when you're underwater, but inside a base, then you're not swimming, right? But if the base is flooded, then you're swimming.
Right.
But if the base is not flooded, but you're inside the aquarium, inside the base, then you're swimming again. So as the game grew, like Charlie said in the beginning, we didn't really know the entire scope of the thing, right? So.
Yeah, and I'm sure we would have made very different decisions if we had.
Right. Like
kind of roll with the punches.
As someone that worked on the transition points between water and land myself, I can say that is absolutely the case.
Yeah. So we never intended to have air pockets.
Right.
And
exactly.
now we have air pockets, tons of them.
Yeah.
And they are all fake. And
yeah, not one of them is real. It's not real air.
So it's really hard.
Wait, we're not simulating real air in the game?
We're simulating real water. That's what you did.
Yeah.
But we're not simulating real air. No, I think we don't do that. Yeah.
That's great. Well, so Max, can you take us through some of the challenges of making water in
Yeah,
a
well,
video game. Because
there's definitely a lot of technical challenges because, you know, a lot of it comes down to what the GPU does, and the GPU is good at surfaces. You know, so we make things out of triangles and we put texture maps, and those are kind of like two-dimensional things. You know, they exist in a three-dimensional shape, but they're just the shell of the thing. But water is a volume. You know, we see through it, and things happen as light passes through it. So
you can see it right there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's an example right
there.
there.
There is a lot happening in that.
So a lot of the stuff the GPU is good at doesn't work for doing water. So we had to kind of think of some creative solutions for things like that, how to represent things volumetrically, and to solve these problems. Like, you know, initially it was easy. Everything below, you know, 0 was water. You know, you could just kind of, anytime you needed to figure that out in the graphics, you could just figure that out. But then you have a base, and then it's supposed to be not water inside, and then you need some way of kind of figuring that stuff out. So there definitely were those kind of technical challenges, and it always feels like you don't quite have all the switches you need to flip to make everything work at once.
Right.
But even bigger than that, what I think was like the art side of it, was how do you make something that feels like underwater? You know, in your mind, you get the sense that you're underwater, but if you look at what it's actually like to be underwater, you have very poor visibility. It's just not, it wouldn't work well.
It's not fun.
It's not fun, yeah.
Like,
And you don't have
underwater
the diversity that we have in the game of different biomes look completely different. So how to like make those things meet somewhere in the middle so that you're satisfying both of them. That was definitely a lot of back and forth, and trying to figure out what the tools you needed to let the artists have enough control over things so that they could get it to match their vision, but still, you know, not bending the laws of physics too much that it starts to feel like you're in some environment that isn't water at all.
Right. Was there one like major feature that you just wish we would get in, but we didn't actually get in? Just one. Just I know there's a whole list, but if you could pick one.
You go first.
Well, the one thing I really was hoping to finish before the 1.0 release, which I was working on but I didn't quite get done, was the water surface. So the way the water surface works is it basically has lots of different waves at different frequencies and different amplitudes, and it adds them all up to create you know, what is a fairly natural water surface, which is actually basically the same process that happens with real water.
Right.
In order to do that in a computationally reasonable way, it computes it over a small area and then it tiles it.
Right.
So it repeats, which was okay until we put a mountain in the game and you were looking down
and
for
then
the
zoomed
mountain.
it way
and you could see
out.
it
Right.
tiling. So I was hoping to get that artifact produced, but it didn't happen in time.
Yeah. Like I said, we chose the hard way for a lot of things, and if that mountain wasn't there, then that problem wouldn't be there. And if you were always walking on the on the terrain, and not like, I mean, diving is like flying, right? So the camera can be anywhere. We can't do any of the tricks that you usually have in game development. We need to come up with a real thing, and that exposes a lot of performance problems or performance challenges rather. Right. And of course, I would love to show more of the world at the same time.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
But there is just a lot of data already that has to be loaded in, and a hard load on the CPU and the GPU to render all that.
Right. Yeah.
So we're hitting the limits pretty hard. But yeah, I would like to spend more time getting even more out of it.
Excellent. Well, I think we ended up with a great game either way, even with all that.
Yeah.
And it was a technical marvel, all things considered. So I think we're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us, you guys.
Thank you.
We're going to send it back to the host desk. Thanks.
So, Mr. Diction, you've been playing this game a long time. I'm sure you've had your fair share of jump scares. What would you say your most memorable, well, not necessarily jump scares, but like your most memorable moments?
I mean, the first time, it was a long time ago, like during the very, very early stages when there was only like 2 biomes. It was the grassy plateau and the shallows. Couldn't even go to the Aurora. And I would see that deep area and just be terrified of it. Finally, I got the courage and I swam over there and was greeted by a reefback, which make these loud, deep, guttural moans, as you probably all know if you played the early access. And I did not know that was in the game, and I basically crap out. Like, yeah, I was live on stream, and I embarrassed myself thoroughly. So that
they're quite passive as well. It's not like they're very
Oh yeah, now I love them. Now I go over to them and I pet them and stuff, and it's like they're big puppy dogs. I don't care. But like back then, I had no idea what this was, and I feel like that kind of encompasses what makes this game so great. Like discovering these new things and not being certain that they're going to hurt you or help you, basically. And that's what I like about it.
So yeah, the reefbacks. Like I made the rookie, I think this is probably a rookie mistake. I made the rookie mistake of building a base directly underneath like where a bunch of them live.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sat in my base and it's nice and calm and I'm just crafting away, and then all of a sudden my headphones just start shaking and they go about a meter over my base, and the whole base like just roaring into my base every 5 minutes. So I kind of need to move house, but yeah,
you can make many bases. You don't have to sit there with your one base.
It's an investment though, isn't it? It's an investment of time and effort.
Just delete it and then go move it somewhere else where it's like less loud.
Okay, right. Okay, we'll do that.
So basically, your base is in like a high traffic area, right? Like next to the highway.
Like
you want to go. All you want to do is go a little bit deeper, and you should be okay.
Okay, I'll need to get some advice on where to make my next base from you.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the Lost River, just because I want to watch you do it.
Okay, we'll give that a go.
Some of you will know what that means.
Do you know what they find in the Lost Rivers?
What?
Developer diaries. Because that's
I love dev diaries.
Me too. They're the best. Let's see another dev diary, guys.
I am Michael Scouten, and I am the lead level designer on Subnautica. Initially, we were trying some procedural approaches to generating the world, so either just completely procedural or using tiles, essentially, that level designers had created, and then stitching them together. But neither of those approaches worked particularly well, just because, firstly, it's quite clear that it's procedural. I think it wasn't very long after those initial tests that we decided that we'll just do the entire world by hand, essentially. I think the most challenging thing for me is probably doing the loot distribution. So basically choosing where we're spawning resources and plants and things like that, and at what rate and density we want those things to appear. It's a balance between introducing these new resources and not neglecting the resources we introduced earlier, I guess. So that's maybe the trickiest part about loot distribution, I think. So basically we have tools for visualizing how any one resource will spawn in the world globally. So like for example, I can tweak the numbers for limestone and then just hit a button, and basically it shows me everywhere in the world that that limestone will have spawned. It basically simulates the player opening every single batch in the game, or every single area of the game, and showing you what loot was spawned there. So we do have a system there that's basically simulating some kind of, like the environmental cost of what you're doing to the biome that you're in. Like when you pick up fish in the world, you can entirely deplete an area of the world essentially but eventually they will regenerate and they will start reappearing. We never really want to sort of handhold. We want players to feel lost sometimes, because I think when you feel lost, there's that greater sense of the unknown, and like when you encounter something like one of these enormous voids, like crevices in the world, and it's just like a vertical drop and it's dark, it's intriguing and you don't know what you're going to find there because we haven't really said anything to the player. So it's up to them to discover what's down there. I understand that sometimes the player can feel a little bit lost, but I think it's worth it for the experience it creates.
All right, and we're back at the interview couch, and we're here to talk animation with our lead animator Colin and another animator Brant, and y'all are in charge of making the game move, and that's a hell of a task.
Indeed.
So, so let's first talk about creatures. Creatures in this game, you know, when you're handed a creature, you're handed a completely static model. Yep. It is a statue, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so you must take that statue and make it feel like a real fish. These fish behind us are moving in all these intricate ways, and it's your responsibility to make these fish feel like they're really there and make it believable to the player. So can you just take us through some of the process of how do you take a fish that's, you know, just completely rigid and put it into the game as a fish that's moving and alive?
Much like the fish that are behind us, they have a skeletal system. We put the guts inside of them, so we put a bunch of joints throughout the entire center of the body, out into the limbs, and so on. We then weight the exterior model to follow those joints. There's a lot of little extra controls that we put in to make it easier for the animators to work, and pass it off to the animators and let them do their magic. We usually talk with the concept artists to get an idea of how they generally want them to function.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's cool. So what challenges do you face when you're doing that? Like, do you pull up a lot of reference material? Do you have like a whole entire screen full of swimming fish? Like, is it like, do you have this folder of like swimming fish videos?
We do, and YouTube is actually a really great resource for us. And it's just an ever-expanding library of video reference for us.
Yeah. So what were some of the biggest references that you used when you were designing these creatures? Because like, how do you find, what does a Reaper Leviathan look like in real life? How the hell do you make this, you know?
We kind of Frankenstein a lot of creatures together. We kind of like, well, that kind of fits with this, so we'll grab parts of like an alligator, or like a cuttlefish, or tentacle reference. We try to find pieces and put them together to the point where it feels like a living creature that would exist.
Is that hard to do, or does it like does it come together, or does it require lots of iteration to try and get it to look right?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, we'll go through, we'll do a first pass on the animation, then we'll put it up in our hip chat program so that we can kind of take a look, and each of us will pick at pieces of it and say, okay, this doesn't quite feel right, doesn't feel like it's the right speed, or it doesn't feel like it's really pushing through the water. Sometimes the animators will pitch in sources, like I think this creature maybe best mimics an otter or a sea lion. So we'll just help each other out through the process. It's a lot of critique and iteration, and then we work our way towards the final creature that y'all get to enjoy.
Right. So, I mean, do you ever have to like redo a creature or anything? Like, do you ever end up with something that doesn't look right?
Sometimes we even have to restructure the bones within it to make it fit the movements that we may need to use.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of the creatures I notice when they like turn, the tentacles, like they're dynamically generated. So like how do you mix animation with dynamic animation? That sounds very technical.
So we actually have two systems going at one time. So we have some blank joints that get the programming on it for doing the trail manager, which was created by Andy and our team. And that will get the dynamic of the rotation, and then there's animated joints that will do the animated motion in addition. So we get the dynamics on one set of unanimated joints, and it's not necessarily, it's basically how we go about it.
Right, so there's lots of different input that's involved.
It's a layered system.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That's really cool, because like I always notice that the creatures, they look so lifelike, and I think it's largely in part to the fact that when they turn, the tentacles don't, they're not rigid and like.
Well, we didn't have the system at first. And you could see they just look like sticks, no matter how we animated them.
Exactly.
We call it teeter-tottering because they would.
We just
because like the pivot points in the center, so you get this weird motion. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I know how it goes. So, how was animating the player? You had all these first-person animations, that his hand reaches out and interacts with the world, and there's just so many different positions this player can be in. We have, walking, we have swimming, we have falling, we have in an exosuit, we have in a sea moth. My God, like that's a lot of animations. How do you handle all that? Like, what do you come up with that?
Well, we have to give a lot of credit to Brian for setting up the animator controller, which is kind of the big tree of animations and chooses which ones are playing at particular times. But for the player character, we really wanted to try to incorporate the body into the gameplay. I think early on we had this concept of it being potentially a VR title and having that body there, so when the player looks down, they can see themselves swimming.
Right.
But really, it's just when it comes to animating it, you just think through, okay, what does he have to do? Here's a list of things that he's going to have to do, and you just work your way through the list.
Right.
And then you pass off that stuff, that giant mess of animations, to Brian, and he gets to try to figure out how to put it together.
Web them all together out of the craziness.
Yeah, it's to shove them into the box and hope that it doesn't like overflow and looks terrible.
So I know in our game we have transition animations, which are, in my opinion, awesome, because in a lot of games, you know, like in Battlefield, you walk up to a tank and you press E or F or whatever it is, and you teleport inside the tank. But we decided, you know, much like we were talking about with the programmers, to go hardcore mode and go, let's make transition animations for literally everything in the game.
Yeah.
If you enter a hatch, the player goes inside a hatch. If you enter the Seamoth, he goes inside the Seamoth. So, like, how did that come about, and how crazy of an idea was it to say, let's do this for the entire game?
How it came about is a little bit of a mystery at this point. It's been such a long time, but it was just something that I really wanted to have. I think early on, you had that experience where you had the opening cinematic, you crash down to the planet, and then you just had the player teleport out of the life pod. It seemed weird to me. So it's something that I wanted to have, that moment where the player climbs out, looks at the vista, and you realize that you're on an alien world. So it's something that I really wanted. I think the first thing we really implemented was actually the Seamoth, the docking and undocking animation for that. And I think it worked so well that the programmers became more at ease with spreading it out throughout the game.
Yes.
I was super happy when we got the hatches in the game, and just that feeling of persistence where you're moving through in the different areas. And it's not like teleport here, teleport here,
And that's like, it's wildly intricate when the Seamoth like pulls into it. You have all the little suction cups that come down, like, and then it transitions perfectly. It's just a technical marvel as far as I'm concerned. Like, when I saw that, I was just sold. I'm like, that is awesome.
Yeah, again, I have to give credit to Andy and to Brian as well. We set up, I think I set up the initial animatic, and then Lewis or you, who took on the Seamoth. But anyways, yeah.
It's all up in the air at this point. And it's been tossed around. For the past 4 years, it's been take this.
Yeah,
and it's
we
been
do pass
fun.
around a lot of
So,
work as we go. So if someone might start on an animation and then he has to move on to another creature, and then we want to make a revision, so assets kind of get mixed around a little bit. But
well, I mean, the game moves great. Like, when you play it, it's fluid, it's smooth, it doesn't have clunkiness. Like, it came to life, and I really think it's through the efforts of what the animation team did. So
I think programming did an amazing job. The water is beautiful. The extra stuff that you did for the Seamoth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to throw it back over to the host desk. Thank you.
Hey guys, how you doing? So, this beautiful gentleman is Lucas. Welcome to the hosting desk.
Hello, hello.
How you doing? Why don't you introduce yourself to the fine people at home?
So, I'm Lucas. I do some programming. I manage our backend systems. I do some translations, UI work. That's pretty much it.
That seems like quite a lot of work for one person.
Yeah, I switch context a lot. That's like the main thing about my work. Yeah, so on a single day I can work on like 10 or 15 tasks at once. It actually happens, yeah.
Wow, okay. What is there anything about your, it seems like you do a lot, is there anything about your job that going into your job you thought you had an idea of what you do, but something surprised you?
That's an interesting question. So all of our systems are pretty much open source, like the APIs, translation stuff, forums, all that stuff. So what's really surprising, I think I had not a single day when I found something getting abused. For example, the translations. We've got hundreds of people working on them every day, and we never got an entry that was abusive, contained swear words or something like this. So
the community's response to these open and systems has been kind of responsible.
Yes, it's very surprising that people are very responsible and mature about that, and it's very good for everyone.
Nice. Well, thank you for your time, Lucas.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Everybody, the wonderful Lucas. We're going to head over to Scott over on the couch with another interview.
What's going on here? Hosts. Okay.
Oh, we're on.
Oh, and welcome back. Did you get the indicator? So we're back. We have Brian here, again from the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and we're actually going to talk sea creatures.
Yes.
So, you know, when we made Subnautica, we were making alien creatures. And we made creatures that we thought were absolutely, you know, the wildest. We had, you know, things that electrified. We had creatures with tentacles and, you know, mandibles and all things we can think of. You know, and then we come to the aquarium and realize that all this stuff not only actually exists, but is actually 10 times scarier in real life.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're mentioning it like this could never exist. I'm like, oh, we could fit some of our animals in there, and it probably would not look out of place.
Yeah.
Even just some of the things that actually exist, if you just make it bigger, that's usually very, very scary in video games. Like there's this one creature I've seen, like this big shrimp-like creature has these little boxing gloves inside. Basically, it's a giant mantis shrimp, which they have, and they have about the punching speed of a bullet, and they can shatter glass. So I've known people that have tried to have mantis shrimp in home aquariums, and they have shattered the glass and windows.
No kidding.
For their exhibits. Those scare me.
How big are they? How are we
that
talking?
big.
Like, can it actually like hurt someone if they put their hand in there?
Yeah, definitely. Some of course that I've worked with that have worked with those animals, like they've been trying to work with it, punches them, and it just cuts their skin right open.
Oh my God.
It's intense.
Don't mess with shrimps.
Yeah, and
Something you never thought I would say.
Still, yeah. But yeah, even as you go deeper, like one of my favorite deep sea fish is like a spookfish or a barrel-eye fish, and it basically looks like a little submarine. Like it's the animal, it has this clear dome on the top, and you got two green eyes that look up through the dome, and it is just weird.
What is the purpose of this clear dome? Like,
yeah,
just so you can see
basically, since
predators,
they live so deep down, there's not a whole lot of light down there.
Right.
It's very scary, as you probably know from seeing the game already.
Right.
But they're these big green eyes that are more adapted for picking up on those little glows of jellyfish and other, like the big siphonophores that are down in those deep oceans. And they use that as a trigger, like, hey, there's probably food nearby, and then just take their form, just go straight up, and they can go eat the jelly.
That's horrifying.
Yeah,
that is actually horrifying.
Yes.
Like, I'm already scared of sharks when I go in the water, but like, a tentacle reaching up out of the deep and grabbing me, like, I will never go in the real ocean again. Like,
yeah, and like it's just crazy because like even just in mythos in general, like there's always this crazy stuff in the ocean, like people drawing like big Cthulhu's and like mind flayers. Like it's basically a big cuttlefish, and like the abilities of them to like mind control. Animals can do that sometimes with their crazy patterns.
Wait! You gotta tell me more about that. There's a mind controlling fish, like. So it's like the mesmer in the game.
Yeah, like the mesmer in the game.
Yeah.
So pretty much like that. So like you'll see a lot of the cuttlefish, like the flamboyant cuttlefish especially, they can use those chromatophores on their skin to just like put off all these different patterns. And in some cases, like even with the little tentacles in front, they'll like kind of draw the animal in, like distract them. They kind of like, oh, what's this? And then they eat their face.
That's crazy, man. So like, so tell me like, what's some of the craziest creatures that the Monterey Bay has?
Some of the crazy ones like mantis shrimp, definitely for sure.
Okay. Wait, can those ones break the glass of the exhibit that they're in?
We have very, very thick acrylic to help out with that, and
No
they can't be in the exhibit with any other animals, otherwise that might not end well. So we have to be very close.
So he has a very lonely little bullet shrimp life.
Yep. They're kind of loner animals anyways. Like they can take on octopuses and other things, and there's this tiny little shrimp.
Right.
But yeah, some of the weird stuff that we have here, like even like the sea moths, which the sub in the game is actually named after. There's a little seahorse-related creature called a sea moth that actually looks like that little structure, and they have the two little wings off the back. And even other things like the sand sharks that are in the game.
Yeah.
We have the thing like the angel shark. It'll bury itself under the sand, sits in one spot, and as soon as something comes nearby, they have this giant mouth. They can just open up, suck in everything into their mouth, and then just bury themselves again like it never happens.
Wow. So nature
terrifying.
really did think of it first then.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to don't look too far for crazy, weird inspirations for animal design.
Right, right. Well, excellent, man. Thank you so much for taking us through some of the wild creatures of real life as everyone else explores the creatures of Subnautica.
Yeah,
Great.
it's definitely going to be a blast what we find down there.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. All right, well, we're going to pass it back to the hostess one more time.
Hey guys, good old Sacral Addiction again, enjoying the show. So we have a little bit of a kind of ad hoc announcement that we're going to go to in just a moment, based on some of the feedback we've had in chat. So kind of,
that's the point of a live stream. We're not just
when it's going this smoothly, you can afford to make ad hoc changes to the schedule on a whim.
Yeah,
it's going like smooth as
buttery smooth.
Yeah,
buttery smooth.
Yeah, you don't get this kind of performance anywhere else on Twitch.
No, never.
I like the mean mugging. That's nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too much?
A bit too. I'm a little bit intimidated.
Never.
So we're just waiting. There's a little setup that's happening at the moment. So what would you say your highlights have been from the live stream so far, apart from the absolutely flawless technical?
Oh, the production has been, completely, like, top-notch, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to sit in front of a glass enclosure for animals, but not actually be able to look at them while I'm on camera, because that would be rude to you guys, and I'm sorry.
They get to enjoy this.
I'm sure there's some really cool things going on behind me. I have no idea. That's okay. It's all for you. It's all about you guys, all right? We want you to play the game. We want you to have fun here at the live stream, and we think you're cool. Most of you are pretty cool.
I wonder how many of chat would like to see you in there riding a tiger shark.
Considering how small those tiger sharks are compared to me,
one on each foot.
And I'm a pretty small human being. Let's be real here. I wouldn't want to hurt it. I respect these animals.
One on each foot, like a ski. You could just.
If I could go up, because I hear if you rub a shark's nose, I don't know if it's like every species of shark, but some sharks, you rub their nose. It's like an inhibitor for them. It's just like, it's like, when you scratch the back of a dog's ear.
Oh,
it's just like they're just like deactivated.
They're just done.
Yeah, like that's their favorite spot.
I wonder how many people have tried that and gone, this is the wrong shark. and I just lost a hand.
I mean, I feel like great whites are a little intimidating. They seem bloodthirsty, but I feel like it's because of Jaws. Honestly, that movie did them a disservice.
It did.
Yeah, a little bit.
It did.
So I watched it recently. That's a good movie. Very good movie. Still good. Never was bad. I'm just saying. It's a good movie.
So we're going to cut over to the game director and co-founder of Unknown Worlds, Charlie, with a cheeky little announcement.
Are we playing Overwatch right now? Oh,
all right. Yes, we are. And we're back, and we're here with Charlie, Cleveland.
Got it this time.
Ohio.
Now you know.
Charlie, Ohio.
I'm your boss. You should know my name.
I have no idea who you are.
That's almost as bad as shaking your butt on the stream. I didn't know we were live, guys. Can I just clarify?
Wait, was that your butt? I was trying to shake mine, but you cut me off.
Yeah. I think we're all shaking our butts a little bit here. So
we're just excited to ship this dumb game. It's finally done. I mean,
done, not dumb.
Yeah.
And speaking of shipping, we're on Xbox, right? We're on Xbox. We haven't launched yet. We've got more work to do.
Actually, Xbox One.
Yeah.
We have launched. We shipped today's content on Xbox actually before PC randomly.
Yep.
We didn't call it 1.0
because we've got more work to do.
We want to do a little more work on it. It is the exact same content. Everything's the same.
The $1 million question, which the stream is asking, is PS4? So
what?
I know.
What?
Would we do PS4 version? Are we already working on it? What's the deal?
So Max has already done a lot of work on PS4. We have always thought that it would work really well on the game, on that console. And I feel weird because I don't want to promise it, because people will be like, you promised PS4 and then you had a technical problem and now we hate you forever. We're going to downvote everything. We're like 90% PS4.
Yeah.
I mean, we've told our investors and people we're doing it. So we're doing it. I don't know when.
Okay. So there you go.
It's not going to be far off.
So that's the word on PS4.
I want to see it on PS4.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm also looking for... Wait, what? You guys?
Just...
What is going on?
Come hither.
Go. So, all right. I know what content segment this is. I forgot. Jess, please take a seat.
Jess has been the star of this show. We've had technical difficulties like you would not believe. We had the backups of our backups fail. Jess doesn't actually have a mic, so I'm going to try and put this between us. But Jess, has today's stream been really hard?
Kill me now.
Right. So, everyone's laughing at me. The reason, Jess, I'm not really much of a traditional guy, but when I saw how you handled that ultimate pressure of like 300 meters of depth crushing down on you as this stream fell apart in front of our eyes, and like you watched me almost throw up in fear and almost cry in like stress. You held the ground and you've been working there that whole time, so that's when I knew. And I'm not a traditional guy, so I'm not, what you're about to see isn't what you'd maybe normally see. But I know that your family has long links to the ocean, and so does mine. And I know you're a mad keen diver, and I know you'd really much rather have something you could use than something that looked pretty. So, Jessica Demist, will you marry me? Okay. Now, we're going to race off stream, and Charlie is going to come back over in here and talk because we need to go and actually switch backs to the host desk because there's no one controlling the stream.
And we're now going to throw it back over to the host desk where the hosts actually
better throw to the
aren't
host
sitting
desk.
at the moment. But if you just stay tuned for just a matter of moments, we'll get that switched on over.
Oh!
We want to thank you very much for watching it so far. And it's not over yet. Let's take it back.
Okay.
How do we follow that?
Look, Diction, I'm not much of a traditionalist, but no, I'm not going to propose to you. Wow, we had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah, that was actually pretty shocking.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
That was precious.
That was precious as hell. Wow, that's one way to end a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So thank you very much for all your time and your patience. We know we've had a lot of technical issues, but these guys are much better game developers than they are live streamers. And this is a pretty ghetto setup considering we're in an actual aquarium.
Yeah.
A fully functioning aquarium. So this is to celebrate the game going live.
Oh, hey guys.
These are some of the wonderful people that you guys have to thank for the incredible gameplay experience that we have, that we've been celebrating all day.
This is great. Honestly, I've been playing this game since before it was even released in early access, and seeing it come to fruition 4 years later is amazing, incredible. I have a very, very short attention span when it comes to gaming, and this game has kept my attention for that long, and I still want to go in and see more of it. Honestly, it's amazing.
That's the thing, you can always go back to it, right? It's always,
yeah.
It's just that feeling of the expanse. Hello. Hey. How you doing? Hey. So, from me and Diction as hosts, and from this
marriage,
and a little marriage.
Yeah.
Forget the game.
Yeah, forget about it.
Forget the game. Go and marry your loved ones. No, thank you very much. In fact, we can thank you now. Thank you for having us come out and do the show.
Thank you.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you very much. Any last words?
Nothing can follow that. Goodbye.